Here's my tips for running if you suffer from sciatica. My background is that I am somebody with sciatica. I only recently narrowly avoided getting back surgery on my spine, on my L5-S1 disc. Had massive pain all down my leg. At one point couldn't even sit at a table, and I was bed bound for a while. Just in total agony, almost got addicted to painkillers. That's where I was at, and pretty much the week before I was off to get my surgery, I kind of got better. That was about 9 months in. Kind of got better enough for me to kind of say, hold off, let's not go down there. So for me, I'm a person that loves exploring and adventuring, and I use my little dangly things to help me do my exploring. My dangly things being my legs. So I like get my fitness back and going out and learning to run again. However, running is a fairly dangerous sport for people with sciatica. The doctor's first advice was, don't do jogging. So first tip, if you want to run with sciatica, don't run. It's probably not so good. Second thing is, I tried to do cycling. I thought maybe I could do cycling instead, and I think maybe road cycling might be possible. However, off-road biking for me, there was something about the twisting, like you really use your back and your abs and your core when mountain biking. It wasn't even like hardcore off-roading, it was just over a field, and just the twisting or something was not good for my back, not good for where the compression was on the nerves. So don't think that cycling's non-compression, because it's not just about compression, it's about how your body twists and all that stuff. For example, like doing pull-ups, that was one of the most painful things for my sciatica. Randomly use your core and your back a lot whenever you're doing pull-ups compared to whenever you're doing sit-ups, bizarrely. Anyway, so first advice for running with sciatica is start slowly and stay slow. Trying to do sprints is not going to be a good move. However, as many of you will know, stuff like HIIT training, high intensity interval training, and hill sprints are one of the best ways to increase your fitness and your cardiovascular and your muscle endurance and strength. So you do kind of want to do some form of sprints. If you are going to do it on a hill, and only sprint up the way. Downhill, every time you try to run downhill, you've got to think your body is going down a bigger distance and you're banging into the ground. And the majority of the time when you are running downhill, you're heel striking. So I'll get into more about the heel strike in a minute. So uphill, you're much more on your toes. You can only do it for a much shorter period of time, and the compression on your spine as you're going, the steeper the hill the better. Do it on stairs, even better, is far less than if you're running downhill, or even just gently running downhill. So uphill is the way to go. The next bit, when I say slow, I mean a slow jog, not walking. Walking is a very good thing to do, however, slow walking is not great for your back. The amount of people I know who don't even have back problems, but if you're doing a slow walk around town, going into shops, that can be incredibly tiring for your back. And the reason that is, and bad for your spine, the reason for that is you're not engaging your muscles, you're not engaging your core. So whenever you're jogging, just this little act of bouncing, suddenly your core muscles lighten up, both at the side, the front, and your back. And having them engaged helps protect your actual spine rather than thinking that it's actually bad for you. So slow strolls, not nearly as good as gentle jogs. Okay, next tip in relation to that last point I just made is, if you can, try and run on uneven ground. Running on flat concrete is just a constant repetitive bang 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 happening to your spine. If you can do off-road, into forests, over roots and over trees and over rocks, far better for core engagement and variety rather than constant pounding on the spine, which you get on concrete like this. But sometimes you've got to. We are going over where you're really having to think about your foot placement and stuff. Far better than on roads. Off-road, always better, far more core engagement. Next tip is about your foot strike. If you're new to running, you'll start hearing this all the time about your different types of foot strike. You've got forefoot, midfoot, and heel striking. Oh, nobody likes a heel strike. Forefoot is running what we would consider on the balls of our feet or the balls of our toes, and you develop that if you're doing stuff like barefoot running or minimalist running. Midfoot is kind of where you go to after your calves are tired, but heel striking is what everyone says, like, oh, don't go there, that's not going to be so good, because there's no suspension from your heel up to your knee, up to your hip, into your spine. If you go from midfoot, your foot can spread out as you make contact, rather than your heel makes contact and then your foot spreads out. Better to go midfoot, foot spreads out, and then the pressure comes up through your limb. The best one possibly is forefoot striking. So that's like running on your tippy toes, and by doing that you're getting the full use of your Achilles tendon. So again, it may be something, if you've got an Achilles tendon problem, get into it slowly and carefully, but there you're using your full plantar fascia as a suspension up to your Achilles tendon, and then you're not just smashing your heel in. So every so often try and develop your barefoot running style. If you want, you can get the Vibram 5-finger shoes, or just go out in a park and run around in your socks or your shoes, but try and make sure there's no glass or anything, or any stones, because once the stone hits you, you're game over. But the more suspension you can put between the striking of the ground and your spine, the better. So squishy soft shoes, but most importantly is where your foot strikes, and if you can get it so it's your forefoot, that's best. Midfoot, second best. Heel strike, it's not even a best, it's just don't. Next tip, don't run with a rucksack. Yeah, I may be running with a rucksack just now, I'm testing it out. But if you've got to think about it, if you think from your heel strike, it's compression coming up to your spine, having stuff on your shoulders, weighing on your shoulders, going down onto your spine as well, that's not so good. If you can, do shorter runs, like 5-10 Ks, where you're not having to have a rucksack or something, because this is probably one of the lightest things with 2 litres of water, still about 3 kilograms of weight. Every bang that you're doing, just imagine somebody with a little hammer at the top of your spine just going 3 kilograms, 3 kilograms, 3 kilograms, 3 kilograms. So for long distance, it's better to run with something either in your hands, so your shoulders are supporting that, or have something around your hips. But again, having something around your hips can potentially cause hip rotation, whether you have the like water bottles at the front or at the back. So you've got to double check where that is, and also again, where it is on your hips can still cause stress to your actual spine. So with all these things, it's a case of testing them out, and testing them out incrementally until you go, right, that's good or that's bad. For me, I'm at 2 kilograms of water, and once I've got the rucksack and the camera and all that, I'm up to 3 kilograms, and this is my max that I can go with weight on my back for what I'm doing just now. Is about a 25-kilometer run. Another tip for people with sciatica is increase everything that you do incrementally, including your speed, your distance, and your terrain that you're running on, because a lot of the time your back pain won't flare up, as it were, at the time of you doing it, because your body's engaged, all that's good, but it's the day afterwards where you've had your time to relax and lie down, and that's when the swelling kicks in, and that's when it gets bad. So I wouldn't ever advise go from a 5k to a 10k straight away. Definitely not. Do a 5k, then really focus on going up 5k, 6k, 7k, 8k, you know, and always having at least a day in between each training session for you to assess your body situation. Right. This is totally off-road, and he was in on a road bike. Impressive. Another tip for people running with sciatica, don't know if I've already said this one already, but small steps, small strides. Bounding is not a good move. The more you can make it where you run so it looks like you're bursting for the toilet, that's always better. It's better to do 100 small steps than 10 massive strides. Much less compression on the spine. Another tip is that if you are going running with sciatica and you are going downhill and you are on a road, definitely this is the time where you should be on your tippy toes. Small steps, baby steps, on your toes, on the balls of your feet. It may be something which you'll kind of go, it's giving me rubbing on my feet and it's a little bit sore. Far better to have a slightly sore or blisters on the balls of your feet than an agonizing back for days afterwards. So yeah, downhill, especially on concrete like this, tippy toes all the way down. Last tip I would say is, everything I've said so far is purely my own experience, my own advice. Your doctor or your physiotherapist or anything will tell you, don't run, don't jog, don't do anything. They will say be mobile, be active, and the more amount of movement you can do, the worst thing possible is just to sit around and do nothing. So it's always better to try and do some sort of movement. So if you want, follow what your doctor says. If he says do not run, fine. If you really find that you're going crazy because you're not getting out and you need to get running, start slowly, do uphills, do small amounts, do barefoot running or barefoot running style, mid-foot strike, forefoot strike, and everything I'm saying here is purely from my own experience, from myself suffering from sciatica, and still have sciatica, but it's far better not going crazy and being able to get out and do something than just sitting in the house being in pain. Especially when, for me, from my own experience, whenever I do run, I feel good, and it's only when I'm sitting down doing nothing that it feels bad. So the more active I am, the better I am, and that may be the case of once the initial super pain dies down, it may be the best thing for you. But that's just my experience, my advice. Find your own advice. Tip for running with sciatica. So and this ground as well, if you can run on grass or on mud or just wet ground like this, as I was saying, roots and stuff, this is so nice and soft to bounce around in, and you know, lots of body movement, really engaging the core. So yeah, roads suck, track suck, paths also suck, but this stuff off-road is the best. Ooh. And again, lots of small steps. Whee!